Hey guys, and welcome to episode 19 of the Dash Gamer Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with me, a special guest co-host, Mr. JONO PECH from 8-Bit. How are you, JONO?
I am fantastic. It's good to be here, Dash. And I was just saying before, first podcast together after, you know, your time in 8-Bit and everything else. Explosion Network never crossed paths. So yeah, here we are.
No. Yeah, I know. It's awesome. I came to you. It's like, yeah, we work with 8-Bit. We worked together in 8-Bit for a little while, and then we never really got to work together. So we kind of I decided, you know what, let's do it, and let's talk about you know, something that we love, which is gaming. And you know,
absolutely.
We both specialize in the world of video gaming entertainment online and produce content for it. Yourself with 8-Bit at the moment, which is, you know, like kind of exciting because I saw that you guys have got a little bit more opportunity in the hair clipping world recently, which is awesome too.
Yeah, more to come with that, but
that's
very
awesome.
exciting to be partnering up with Manscaped.
That's awesome.
And all the fun that brings. But
yeah,
it's a cool time, and of course doing some cool stuff with Audio Technica as always, and just trying to push things forward. It's always tough, like especially with everything that's been going on this year. Sometimes you feel like you're just treading water, but
yeah,
if you're having fun and things are moving forward, then that's pretty much all you can ask for at a time like this, I think.
Definitely, yeah, especially in a time like this. We're just having that discussion, and it's weird because like you're in regional, I'm in metro, and there's two different lives we're leading right now. Of like, there are some restrictions there, but you got a little bit more freedom than I do at the moment. I'm basically jailed inside my house. But yeah, it's a weird one. I mean, I've spoken to so many people, and they've said the same thing. So it's you know, it is what it is, which is an old show by Jack, but. Guys, if you didn't know, this is the Dash Gamer Podcast, our bi-weekly gaming podcast where myself and the boys get together and talk about the latest in the world of video gaming. Don't forget to follow us over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a follow, whatever they do, and all that stuff. Jono, we're going to jump into some housekeeping. What is on the plate for you and 8-Bit? What's the latest?
The latest. So I guess just from my side of things, we just put out a Dogma deep dive for Comedy Rewind with Ben from Bitstorm and Benny McJanet. Just looking back at that Kevin Smith classic from '99 and digging into how well that holds up. So that's just gone up on podcast services. And we've got an Army of Darkness episode coming up for Halloween in a couple of weeks, depending on when this goes up. So that was good. I don't watch scary movies, so not that that's really a scary movie, but it's in the horror category. So for me, it was kind of a new thing to get into the Evil Dead world. And yeah, it's such an interesting and weird movie, that one. So that's coming up. Otherwise, just the same old stuff, you know. Putting in work is sporadically releasing episodes now just when I feel like it. Had the panel with PAX Online, that was a heap of fun. And
it was fantastic.
Thanks for checking it out. Yeah, it was just great to talk to two behemoths from the voice acting world. If people have missed it, you can go and check that out with Yuri Lowenthal and Jennifer Hale. And yeah, just that's up on like the PAX Australia YouTube. It's on the Putting in Work RSS feed, however you want to get it. It's just sitting there.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I was sitting there watching it live that night because I'm a big fan of both Jennifer Hale and Yuri Lowenthal and their works across like Yuri with like most recently Spider-Man, and then you go back to Persona and many of his other works like Final Fantasy VII Remake that he recently did. And obviously Jennifer Hale is one of the biggest female voice actors within both video gaming and anime, so it was awesome to check that out, man.
They were awesome. They were great. Like, just so wholesome and wise and level-headed and kind to talk to, and just the greatest advice, I guess. It's funny because I hear all these stories from other voice actors about Jennifer Hale and how much
She mentored a lot of voice actors within the industry, and it's really cool to actually see yourself get to have that discussion with somebody like Jennifer as well. So definitely check that one out, guys. Head over to the Putting In Work Apple Podcast feed and give it a listen. It is awesome. For dashgamer.com, you guys, we got Operation PlayStation episode 20 is out with myself and Paj. Kirby Fighters 2 review, thanks to the kind folk over at Nintendo. Star Wars Squadrons, which myself and Jono will be having a bit of a review discussion later into the episode, but thanks to the kind folk over at EA. Ride 4, thanks to the kind folk over at Coke Media. And then later in the week, a FIFA 21 review, thanks to the kind folk over at EA. And just announced today that I'll be taking a look at Sword Art Online Alicization Part 2, thanks to the kind folk over at Madman Australia and Anime Review. So, Jono, without further ado, it is time. Miss Ellie Hart, we haven't heard you for a few weeks. What time is it?
Well, Dash, it's time for the news.
All right, Jono, it is time for the news. I got to tell you something. It's going to be action-packed, jam-packed, I should say, full of PlayStation.
That's good, because that's my jam.
Because that's your jam. But to start it, we'll be starting with some Xbox news.
Yeah.
So, first bit of news comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says, the first Xbox Series X unboxing video has appeared. He goes on, it was bound to happen eventually, but I don't know if anyone was expecting an Xbox Series X unboxing a month before launch. After images of the Xbox Series X console stacked up in a warehouse started appearing on Reddit, an unboxing video of the final retail console quickly appeared on YouTube. Obviously, it'd be nice to see something on a bit more of a high quality, but it's pretty damn cool to see the thing unboxed as well, as so many Xbox Series X consoles stacked up, ready to make their way across the world ahead of the November 10th launch. So, yeah, obviously, what this is highlighting is that Xboxes are out in a while now. There's a few outlets who do have their hands on them already. And, you know, they're starting to make their way into consumers' hands as well in different countries, it seems. There was an update today just before we came on live that shipments are now getting moved forward. Press Starter just reported that EB Games have moved round 2 shipments to launch, and then round 3 shipments to round 2. So
PS5 as well, right?
Same with PS5 as well. So it should be interesting to see when these consoles actually land in consumers' hands. My question is, though, with this already out in other countries, like this is obviously out in just some random's house
South America
right now.
somewhere.
Yeah, in South America, yeah. Do you think that we're going to be seeing like a lot leak within now to launch?
Yeah, it's a strange thing because you see all these influencers getting their hands on copies and press getting their hands on not copies but consoles. And I imagine there's like a really strict embargo about like what you can show or what you can't show. And all the people, like especially over in Japan, that have had the PS5s, they haven't shown the UI or anything.
Yeah.
I assume it has a UI.
Oh, yeah.
They just aren't showing it. But it makes me think, like, if there's random people getting them off the back of the truck or something, then they're not bound to any of the restrictions that content creators are. So, I think we will start seeing random bits and pieces, menu screens, all that kind of thing. Yeah. And I wonder is it the kind of thing where they would, like, ban? Like, can they, like, shut it down from their end? Or?
So apparently they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
so
can ping it.
Yeah. Well, they all come with their own respective MAC address, and each unit having their own MAC address, Xbox can ping it if they connect online. That is.
Right.
Which more than likely, you know, if you have a unit, you're going to probably connect online anyway, just to kind of see the full features. But yeah, Microsoft have remote access to completely like brick the unit so that they can't access it. But it still won't stop users from being able to access the stock unit with stock firmware and basically leak everything. Now, the UI for Xbox Series X is identical right now to the Xbox One X. So there's nothing really new there. PS5, however, there was a report last week that myself and Paj covered on Operation PlayStation where somebody had gotten their hands on, rumored that they got their hands on a dev unit and showed off pieces of the UI, and showed, basically that the unit itself, after installation of the OS, only had 664 gig left in storage. Right. What do you think of that?
I mean, it's more than I've got now with my base PS4, and I'm just used to like. We'll be talking about storage later, but I'm used to just like deleting stuff as soon as I'm finished playing it and that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's not a big deal to me. But if the games themselves are taking up a larger amount of room as they become, bigger and better, then that could be an issue. But yeah, we will be talking about that a bit later, won't we?
Yeah, definitely. Jono, the next story once again comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start. Who says Xbox Game Pass cloud streaming will come to iPhone, iPad through the web browser. It's been well documented that Apple refuses to let Microsoft have an Xbox Game Pass cloud streaming app on the iPhone and iPad due to the fact that Apple feel that they can't regulate the games on its platform. Well, it looks to be good for the iOS owners of Xbox working on a solution to help make this happen. According to Business Insider, Phil Spencer told employees in a meeting earlier today that Xbox Game Pass is targeting a 2021 release on iPhone and iPad. Quote, "We absolutely will end up on iOS," end quote, are the words Spencer used when telling employees about Xbox Game Pass on iOS. Business Insider is reporting that it will happen through the use of in-browser streaming. Interestingly enough, that's the path that Amazon is going down with their new Luna streaming service. We know that Australia is likely to get Xbox Game Pass cloud streaming at some point in early 2021, with Phil Spencer tweeting about it recently. Here's my take. We don't have the infrastructure or means to have something like this happen right now. Like, this is something that, if we did, PlayStation Now would be available in Australia. Without like gigabit NBN available to every household within Australia, we don't have the power to do this kind of thing right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's the side of it where you go, well, why can't just the people who have good internet access it? But then I guess there would be a cost for them to making it available without a large enough consumer base for it to be worth their while. So I think that's going to be more of the issue is how many people of the people available are going to pick up on it. And like you said, the fact that we don't have PlayStation Now after all these years is the biggest sign that we're not ready for that. Because I feel like PlayStation, for all the, for all like the sometimes lack of finger to the pulse moves that they have, I think if there's some money to be made from PlayStation Now over here, that they would be doing it. Yeah. So I'm not filled with confidence between that and like the lack of Stadia rollout that it's something that will become available at all.
It's interesting to see that they're trying to push that here as well, given the fact that, like I said, the infrastructure is poor in Australia. Do you think that PlayStation Now will probably see its like eventual debut here in Australia after PlayStation 5's launch?
I do. Like I know I just said that they've like that's been a sign that we're not ready, but I think like I feel like they will almost be needing to bundle it with PS Plus to match what Game Pass is doing. And if that's the move they do, it probably has to be everywhere. Like it can't just be in countries that it's in at the moment. I think they would say, you have PS Plus. If you pay, an extra $2 a month, you can get PS Now or whatever it might be. If you have internet of this speed, you can access it completely. If you don't have internet of this speed, you'll have like a lesser experience. I feel like that's what makes sense. But with PlayStation and whoever else, they don't always do what makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we're going to be. I think we're going to be a service that they'll push, but not necessarily something that'll be like, oh, okay, it's ready for Australia to use. It's just going to be a service that's there. It's available if you want to use it. We don't recommend it right now. We're not going to push it in your face. We're not going to campaign it, but it's there. So
Yeah, and you're probably more switched on with tech and stuff than I am with the whole JB background, but is 5G an option for making this work? And like, I don't really know how far away that is as a realistic option.
Well, look, with 5G, because it hasn't really officially rolled out and probably won't till like maybe 2022 now, if it were to roll out next year, then it would definitely be a possibility. 5G could essentially raise the bar exponentially by like giving out that gigabit fast internet, whether it is, basically through 5G. We're in a space right now because we can't have that access that I think it's kind of commercially silly to kind of like attempt that right now within Australia. Everywhere else, I mean, like even Indonesia's got better internet than Australia, so like they could roll out anywhere. So yeah, it's a good service, but I don't see it being a benefit right now to us at least. The final story before we roll into just a plethora of PlayStation news comes by way of Liam Croft over at Push Square, who says Ni no Kuni, this is a sad one, Ni no Kuni dev Level 5 reportedly all but seizes North American operations. So Games Industry Biz reports that Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom developer Level 5 has reduced its North American presence to a skeleton crew. According to sources close to the website and familiar with the situation, both Level 5 International America and Level 5 Abby began laying off the majority of its staff partway through 2019 as operations wound down. This has called into question the release of the studio's titles outside of Japan, with one source stating that, quote, there were currently no concrete plans for any more Level 5 games, end quote, to come to other territories. When layoffs occurred, no concrete reason was given. In the case of Level 5 Abbey, however, employees were said to be, quote, given every indication, end quote, that the developer would eventually be shuttered. One other indicator of operations slowing down is the lack of virtually any social media posting since October 2018. Now, obviously, COVID-19 has put a major impact on every single title within the industry. We're not just talking like indie games, we're talking AAA titles as well. We've seen it happen this year with, Cyberpunk being one of the most affected. And then we had like The Last of Us kind of saw a small delay because they had to send their crew home to work from home and then, evidently do their crunch hours, which people, were basically caught up in a bunch over that. But they really wanted to get their title out, which is fine. Now with Level 5, with a developer that has released such titles like such as established franchises like Ni no Kuni, shutting their doors in North America and in the UK, that's sad. It's big news. It's sad because there was a lot of titles that I personally enjoyed. Ni no Kuni is one of the best JRPGs, titles that come out of Japan, and for it to not to be localized any longer if they're looking to continue their franchise and sequels like a third part. This is terrible.
I love Ni no Kuni, and I even liked Ni no Kuni 2, which a lot of people weren't as crash hot on. But yeah, it's a huge bummer. I didn't even realize that a third Ni no Kuni had been announced until I read this story. So I don't know. Like, I think the games have been probably successful enough that it's worth their while to make it available in other markets. I don't know exactly what a Level 5 studio would be doing in the UK and US. Do you think it would like just literally be the localization process and marketing, etc.?
I think so. Yeah, I wouldn't see why there would be a development team in either office. Yeah.
So, from that perspective, it kind of makes me think they don't want to pay people as the game's being developed, per se. It's costing them money that they could save. Maybe it's still a chance that they just outsource the localization process. Maybe they stay, what do they call it? Like, retrench all these staff all these US and UK staff, they kind of give them the boot, and then once the game's finished and they need localization, then they go out and hire people up again. I know there was a pretty big gap between like localization and Japanese release for, like, for example, Persona 5. There was a big gap there while that took place. Being a massive game, that makes sense. And then even like Ni no Kuni itself released on another platform before it came to PS3. And got like up-resed and just kind of remade. So yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to just be doing some cost cutting, and then I don't know that much about how Japanese economics and business works, but it would make sense to me as a layman that kind of follows this to think that they would be able to find someone to do this work when they have to, rather than pay people all the way through the process.
I agree. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think outsourcing it would be probably the perfect way to kind of, one, save a little bit of cash for the actual company itself in Japan, and two, it could potentially, I don't know. See, that's the other thing too. I reckon because they primarily work with Bandai Namco in localization and also publishing, Bandai Namco could possibly outsource that localization team for them, and get that going for them, based on based exactly on what you just said. Deep Silver work with Atlas within the European and the Australian territory, whereas Atlas have Atlas USA and Atlas Japan to kind of work with localization there. So it's one of those things where publishers could most certainly step in and help with outsourcing localization. So we could possibly see that happen with Bandai Namco basically saying, okay, it was localized by this team, developed by Level 5, so we can slap this, this, and this on the front cover, and bam, it's the same thing. So
yeah,
we'll
see.
So, John, the next story comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, PS5's Game Boost feature will improve select PS4 titles for better performance. We've known that PlayStation 5 will improve select PlayStation 4 titles when played through the backwards compatibility, but as part of an FAQ published on the matter, Sony has reiterated that its next-gen console's Game Boost feature, quote, may make PS4 games run with a higher or smoother frame rate, end quote. Titles with variable resolutions and unlocked frame rates are likely to benefit the most, as they'll be able to leverage the next-gen hardware to max out their performance targets. A game like God of War in performance mode, for example, has a widely fluctuated frame rate, but it should stick to a smooth 60 frames per second when played on PlayStation 5. Hopefully, the platform holder will publish a list of titles that best benefit from the hardware improvements in the not too distant future. So this is cool. Obviously, with a lot of prominent titles such as God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, people will want to play those titles again on PlayStation 5, and given the fact that backwards compatibility has been quite predominantly promoted now, whereas beforehand everybody had kind of had their hands up in the air going, what the hell's going on? But now, given the boost feature as well, which is kind of like what they did from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 4 Pro with games like Infamous Second Son, this is awesome. Because now we're getting basically hardware that's able to give us what we really desire, which is that 60 frames per second, that 4K resolution, a crisper, cleaner experience. When we're playing titles such as God of War, such as Horizon Zero Dawn, and before their evidential sequels actually land in our hands, I'm still gonna say that God of War will not see the light of day until 2021. A lot of people are still saying 2020, but I don't think we're gonna see that game until 2021. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this, Jono?
Yeah, it does seem like the 2.0 of that boost up to the PS4 Pro, so it's kind of taking that to the next level, which is great, especially for games where the it sounds like the boost hasn't really worked so well with a game like God of War, which I didn't realize that, but that would be disappointing. And for me, going from my base PS4 to the PS5, I am really hyped to kind of make that huge jump forward and see what the difference is. And I would kind of just assume any really big third party or first party or just pretty much any major AAA release of the past few years would have something like this built into it. If if it's well supported, Horizon, God of War, as you said, Uncharted, Spider-Man, like all these kinds of things. So I think that's where it'll be interesting to see, like, okay, I'm going to be playing my PS4 version of Spider-Man on my PS5 and seeing the difference between that and like the Miles Morales / remaster version with the ray tracing and everything. I'm still expecting the PS4 version to be a huge step up. So I wonder if it will just be kind of like that marginal difference between that and the PS5 version with the better lighting and everything. That will be definitely interesting to kind of check out for the tech nerds.
Yeah, I think it's going to really... there's going to be a definite change in the way that we perceive a lot of the things that we thought were extremely gorgeous on the PlayStation 4. And, given the fact that you have a base model PlayStation 4, so you're basically still playing at a max of 1080p. Once you enter that world of 4K and you actually get to see the ray tracing applied to some of these effects, man, your mind's going to be blown. And here's the thing too, is like, if we're able to kind of get titles like God of War remastered for PlayStation 5 with those upgrades like ray tracing, crisper visuals, a guaranteed locked 60 frames per second instead of just like the locked 30 frames, which is possible on PlayStation 5, but I don't think they'll ever do that because it could. There's hardware capabilities that I don't think we're going to be seeing for that until maybe the Model 2nd revision or a PlayStation 5 Pro. But given the fact that we're getting a promise of this title, which I got up on screen right now, the God of War original title, at a solid 60 frames per second in 4K, hey, you know what, man? It was a gorgeous game in itself. I can't wait to replay it, just to kind of, give it that refresher as you usually do before entering the sequel, especially Horizon Zero Dawn, one of my favorites from 2017. I think that, man, I can't wait. I can't, like, talking PlayStation 5 tech has been one of my favorite things because it's going to be astronomically just something that I cannot wait to get my hands on. Like, I've got a PC. I just spent $3,500 on this PC. And yeah, it does. It's got a 2060 Super inside of it, so it's got a good graphics card, and it does ray tracing and does all that. But there is something about PlayStation titles, there's exclusives that just give that magic that some PC games don't have. So yeah, man, it's going to be awesome. Speaking of PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 titles on the PlayStation 5, this one comes by way of Liam Croft over at Push Square, who says, Ghost of Tsushima supports 60 frames per second on PS5, better load times. Who needs an upgraded PlayStation 5 version of Ghost of Tsushima? When Sony's next-gen system arrives next month, the latest title from Sucker Punch Productions will automatically support 60 frames per second and even better load times through backwards compatibility. You'll need to enable Game Boost to make this happen, but we don't see why you would ever want to disable the feature in the first place. The developer confirmed the news on its Twitter account, saying that, quote, PS5 owners playing with Game Boost will see an extra option to allow the frames up to 60 frames per second. And while loading speeds on PlayStation 4 are already great, just wait until you see them on PlayStation 5. You'll be able to transfer your save from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 and pick up your single-player progress right where you left it. Now, that's great. We're getting the Game Boost feature for this title as well. But the one thing that I read here that kind of was a bit interesting was the fact that you'll be able to transfer your save from PlayStation 4 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Sony have come out and said that with most backwards compatibility, you won't be able to do this feature. So why all of a sudden, like, was this premeditated? Was this pre-planned for, like, okay, because it's releasing so late in the game, we can kind of optimize it so that we can transfer Ghost of Tsushima save games over.
Yeah, that is interesting. So, which games have they confirmed you can't
All of
transfer
them.
saves for?
All of them.
Yeah. It makes sense for something like Spider-Man, where that remaster is a different game, so it doesn't work. But yeah, I was under the impression that I've been reading, like, you can, via the cloud, just transfer your save game through the backwards compatibility.
Oh.
So, for example, if I'm playing Horizon, then yeah, I can pick up where I left off. But maybe I've got that wrong. If it's really backwards compatible, then you're playing the PS4 version still, so it makes sense that would work.
Yeah. I'm just doing a little bit of homework here. This one is from Tom Ivan over at the Video Game Chronicles. Sony says transferring PlayStation 4 saves to PS5 is a developer decision and will vary title by title. There you go.
Okay.
So, all right, cool. So, all right, at least now we've got some sort of clarity here, because beforehand, Sony basically turned around and said, no, backwards compatibility won't allow you to transfer saves. And a lot of people were going in a tailspin because they were like, well, what do I do? Do I trade my PlayStation 4 now, or do I keep it? Because, you know.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because I guess especially games like, imagine like a Destiny or Marvel Avengers or something, where it's a game as a service and you've got this character that you've been working on for potentially 100 or multiple hundreds of hours. You really want to take that over. Like, I don't want to start Avengers again. Like,
no,
I don't want to, people don't want to start their Destiny characters all over again. So I feel like those developers would have only reasons to do that. Whereas if it's something like a single player game that you just play and you finish, and then it doesn't really matter if you've got an end game save or not, then yeah, I guess it wouldn't make sense for Sony to say every game has to translate over to PS5.
Yeah. JONO, let's talk about one of the most useless features of the PlayStation 5. This one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square. Says you can remote play your PlayStation 4 games to your PlayStation 5. Why?
I'm trying to like picture this. So if I have a PS4 in my house, I can turn on my PS4 and play them on my PS5. Is that what it's saying?
Yeah. Right. To clarify, he says, to be honest, we're not entirely sure why you'd want to do this. But you can use remote play. You can use remote play to stream your games from your PlayStation 4 to your PlayStation 5 console. Given that the next gen system is completely backwards compatible with PS4 games, with a couple of exceptions, this is a curious quirk. But the manufacturer points out that it will allow you to save a valuable storage space on your new device. Well, okay, all right, fair enough. But I don't think anybody's that desperate to play Joe's Kitchen on their PlayStation 5, like to stream their PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. If anything, this is the thing, like with backwards compatibility being confirmed, I see a lot of people deciding to trade their units. So those handful of titles that aren't going to be compatible with PlayStation 5 from PlayStation 4, I think they're going to be forgotten gems for a little while, and unless people actually keep them. But this feature is one of the most befuddling out of everything that they've done. Like, I can understand them saying, we've confirmed remote play. Remote play will work on your PS Vita and everything else, and on your phone. That's fine. But you can also now use remote play on your unit from your PlayStation 4. Why?
I guess, let's just say, hypothetically, what's the latest Call of Duty that's come out?
Cold War will be out soon.
What's the one? Okay, let's say you've got that on your PS4, and it's 150 gig or whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't want to download it on your PS5. I guess you can have it on your PS4 and just leave it there and remote play it. But then if you do that, you're not going to get your 60 frames per second and all that stuff. So it's like maybe there'll be some people that don't care about that. Maybe like
No.
kids will do it or something. Like,
yeah.
if I was a kid, I wouldn't care how many frames per second. I barely care now. Like,
No. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Now that you mention that, like, if the PlayStation 4 is in another room of the house and it has titles on it that you essentially can't be bothered reinstalling, or it doesn't have the save game, like the save data transfer that we just mentioned, and you don't want to lug around a whole either PS4 Pro or even just your PS4 to another room, you have access to it. Now, and
you can even use your DualSense, which you wouldn't be able to use. Yeah, anyway, I'm sure the DualSense.
Yeah,
works
you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you'll be able to use the latest hardware, and also, you'll be able to access your save games. You'll be able to. The problem that lies in that, is data has to basically transfer through Wi-Fi and then like reassemble onto your TV. It is not going to be the clearest gameplay.
No.
It'll look like 480p on YouTube.
If you want to play Hitman Go on your PS5, it's the only way.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit silly, but I guess it's an okay. You've kind of convinced me here, John, that it's an okay feature, but I still find it very, very weird. But anyway,
it's unnecessary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. The next story comes by way of Liam Croft over at Push Square, who says Ps5 Teardown video proves immensely popular with huge view count, an impressive 6.3 million. So I won't go into it too much because we do have some stories that attach. Basically, what it is that there was a PS5 Teardown last weekend. Basically showed off the internals. I saw you tweet about it, about the naked PS5 look as well. Before I dive even deeper, because we have a few articles that are like kind of tied to this, I just want to make mention that I'm still not a fan of the shells on the side. I think that the unit should still be in a box, like PlayStation 4 or Pro. The aesthetic of these shells are to obviously sell more of the shells, so like you can customize and put black ones on if you want, which is what I want. Or purple ones, as Betson wants to do.
Of course he does.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the actual aesthetic of the unit?
I don't hate it like so many people do. I'm interested to see what it looks like in my house. I might set it up and go, it's not working for me. Yeah. But I do like that they've made it so seemingly easy to customize, whether that's literally taking the wings off and spray painting them, or putting decals on them, or like someone's gonna figure out how to 3D print these things pretty quickly.
Oh yeah,
I imagine there might even be different shapes that just lock in the same way. I'm excited to see what is possible, because there's obviously some creative people out there, as we know, and there's even been some cool mock-ups lately of like Miles Morales versions of the wings and stuff like that. And it's like, if they're able to do that, and it's not going to like void your warranty to remove the wings or something stupid, then I think that we can have a lot of fun with that. And it might end up being like the coolest looking console ever if that's the case.
Yeah, I agree. In that stance, yes, I agree. I would love to order some like custom plates online off eBay or anything like that, because obviously 3D printers are going to go out there being go nuts over this. The fact that they're able to basically build custom plates for their console. The problem is the aesthetic right now for the unit sucks. I'll just put it out there. It sucks. It really, when I first saw it, myself and Betson sat down and did a reaction over it. The first thought that pretty much rushed over me was, man, this looks like a Netgear modem.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never understand the logic of how they went about its shape. It just doesn't. It doesn't look like it's cooler friendly, if I put it that way. Like they have the huge vents at the top, in the middle, and the side. And I'm about to go into cooling in a second as well, but I still have to reiterate that because the PlayStation sounds like it's ready to take off into the Northern Hemisphere, I'm just worried that this unit's going to do the same with basically how they've they've got the two huge fans on the side, and then the vents at the top for intake. But then you got these huge plastic wings on them that are basically covering the outtake of it.
Right. Yeah. I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I feel like they've put so much thought into this, as we can see from some of the other stories we're about to cover, like whether it's the way the stand works and the fan and everything. It makes me think like the shape of it is so strange that it has to be a choice that they've engineered for airflow purposes or something. Like nothing else really makes sense unless you just go, they're Japanese and they wanted to do something cool and weird, because often that's the trend over there.
I think that's probably No. You I think you've hit it. And obviously they want to make it unique. They want that trademark on it. So,
like what you're hearing today? Be sure to follow All Dash Gamer Podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify by simply typing dashgamer.com into the search bar of your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to check out our gaming, anime, and pop culture related news on dashgamer.com. Now, back to the show.
This one comes by way of Liam Croft over at Pushware. It says, PS5 stand solution is seriously nifty. You'll be able to place the PlayStation 5 both vertically and horizontally straight out of the box, and the solution is a really cool one no matter which way you go. If you decide to place the console vertically, there's a screw that can be used to secure it in place, fully attaching the system to the stand itself. This isn't a simple solution that sees the PS5 stand slide into place. Sony has gone the full mile to make you feel safe in knowledge that it won't easily tip over. You can see what this process looks like in the video above. So for those who had seen it, I'm about to play it, but basically there is a step-by-step process to it. And this one, there's a follow-up from Shannon over at Press Start, who basically said, and I saw this tweet being made by Xbox UK as well. Xbox tweeted Shader the PS5 needing a stand, then deleted it. The Ps5 Teardown was released last night, and it was revealed that not only does the PS5 need to stand in both vertical and horizontal positions, it actually needs to screw it to keep it in place, which is probably a little more effort than we initially thought. In a now deleted tweet by Xbox UK, they pointed out with images that the Xbox Series X in both vertical and horizontal positions, along with a caption, quote, "How to switch the Xbox Series X from vertical to horizontal," end quote. This is obviously a big dig. I'll just reiterate, basically, this is obviously a dig from when they announced how to share your games on PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But they basically, what they showed was the box being shown in vertical position and in horizontal position. Basically, like, you can easily switch it without having to unscrew anything and all that stuff. When you first saw them reattach and attach the stand on the PlayStation 5, like, first of all, I'll say what everybody was thinking. Damn, that's a lot of work to just put it sideways. What were your thoughts?
I thought, like, my thoughts basically are, once I decide which way my PS5 is going to go, it's probably not going to change. So I don't think, especially if it's just the first time you set it up, okay? So I get there November 12th, I get home from EB or wherever, and I unpack my my PlayStation.
Yeah, Xbox,
all I'm going to do is set it up. So I'm prepared to do a little bit of work when I'm setting it up. Whether there's a screw or not, whether I have to tighten the stand, I'm down for that because I'm setting up my PS5.
Yeah.
And then I'm probably never going to do it again unless I come across like a new TV unit, or unless there's airflow fan dust issues and it needs to, the internet tells me it's better to put it vertical. That's the only time I'm going to change it. So it doesn't really bother me. And if you do change it, it's going to be like, once every 2 or 3 years? Like, you're not going to change it every week.
Yeah. Do you know which way you're going to be putting it when you first get it?
Yeah, mine will be horizontal, definitely.
Yeah, same. I don't have the room to put it vertically. My TV is on a bracket right beside me, and I've used the AR, the augmented reality thing to kind of see if it would fit. man, it is a mammoth, this thing. And even the AR was having difficulty like registering, because it does read objects around the area, and it's like, no, it won't fit here. And I'm like, oh great, well, how am I gonna? So basically, I'm gonna have to remove both. Well, I was already thinking about trading the PlayStation 4 anyway, but if I don't, I'm gonna have to remove both the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 off this thing just to fit that one unit. That is ridiculous.
Yeah. I've got the luxury of like having a mounted TV, and I got the tape out and measured, like if I wanted to put it vertical, it will still fit, apparently. But I just don't want, the visual of just this tower, this hulk of a tower in the middle of my TV unit that's like a few inches away from my TV.
It's freaking huge, this thing. Like, I don't know. I still don't understand how they didn't sit there and go, oh man, maybe we should consider ergonomics here a little bit. And, people at home with, their fixed televisions on their walls, that some of them actually like kind of pop out, which is mine. Mine is a little further from the wall than it just is flush. And even if I were to want to put it horizontal, it still will go over the TV. It is so freaking big. So, I don't know, man. But let's talk a little bit more about the airflow feature of the unit. So this one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, PS5's dust catchers will make for easy clean. This is one of my favorite features, actually, because the one thing I hate about my PlayStation 4 is that it's so hard to clean this thing. You have to basically tear it apart just to kind of give it a cleaning. And then you can't use your vacuum because you could short the unit with static. But they've made it so user-friendly that this is such an inventive idea, an innovative idea that I'm astounded by. But he goes on, there is a lot of thoughtful design flourishes to the PlayStation 5's hardware, but the dust catchers are an ingenious idea. Situated behind the primary faceplate, you simply need to detach the outer layer to locate the two holes. These can be easily vacuumed out to keep the console clean and operating quiet. There is amusingly a disclaimer at the end of the teardown video that stresses the, quote, dust catcher does not guarantee the hardware clogging from dust, end quote. But obviously it's going to help you to keep your console cleaner, which should help preserve its lifespan. Yeah, this is an awesome feature, Jono.
So is the idea basically you just lift up a vac to the hole and it will suck the dust out,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool too, and I guess the two things that it made me think about is someone going to recommend how often I need to do this? Because I will probably only do it when I start to notice my PS5 getting noisy, and I by then it's probably too late. Because I've taken apart my PS4 completely and got all the dust out of the fan and everything. It's still loud. So it makes me think, like, is it a dust issue, or is it just a heat sink, or like a thermal paste, or like a
that's age.
My console's just old. And the other thing is how, like, we saw the guy detach those wings in that video, the teardown.
Yeah,
I'm interested how easy that is. Like, if it's because I think there was a screenshot someone did of like the screws that had like kind of scratched the wings in the process. So I wonder, like, how easy is it going to be? Is it the kind of thing where, once a month I'm vacuuming? I vacuum more than once a month, but let's just say I'm vacuuming and once a month I'm like, oh, look, maybe I should, while my vac's on, just clip the wings off the PS5 and suck out of that hole.
Yeah.
If it's easy, then that's great, and I hope it is. And it's like the fact that this exists is another indication that Sony really is the masters of like hardware design. I think that stand is another great example of that. That
it's innovative.
That they've put a lot of thought into however weird this thing looks. I think the physical structure of it is going to help the way it runs more than anything.
Do you think that, like Xbox Series, I think Xbox Series X as well, but Xbox One X featured an internal, like, liquid cooling basically that helped keep the unit quiet. Do you think that neglecting that feature within the unit going into PlayStation 5 could hurt Sony in the long run? I mean, look, the fact is, it's going to get noisy. Like, at some point, they've even said it there. It's going to get noisy. Whether you like it or not, no matter how much we leave this will help keep it quieter for a longer period, but at some point, it's going to get noisy. And obviously, I think that the one reason they wanted to do this was a lot more people are having indoor pets these days. And that's possibly why they found like a lot of people were complaining. Look, I have my cat in my house, or I have my dog in my house, and their hairs get stuck in the unit. So that's one of the other reasons as well. I remember like serving so many customers and having to pull apart their PlayStations and just finding dog hair and cat hair everywhere in them. But I believe that's one of the reasons why. But do you think that omitting that feature itself, the water cooling feature, the liquid cooling feature, I should say, in PlayStation 5 is a hindrance?
I don't know enough about liquid or water cooling or whatever it's called to really answer that, but I do know from listening to Sacred Symbols the other day, and one of the guys over there was saying in the teardown video they noticed that the amount of, is it thermal paste that's used? Yeah, so the way that they've done thermal paste this time around in that teardown video is a far more heavily invested component than what it's been in the past. Maybe it just used to be like a dab of paste, and this one that they've done specifically is something that would clearly have cost them a lot more per unit than what they've done in the past. So I think that bodes well for the whole heat temperature thing.
Yeah, liquid metal is what they're using now, which is basically a sub of thermal paste, but it keeps the unit cooler for longer. I remember, because I'm a big techie, obviously, I watch a lot of Linus tech tips on YouTube, and I remember watching an explanation video he did a while back of the difference between regular thermal paste is what the units have now, and liquid metal cooling. So yeah, the units will stay cooler for a longer period of time. My concern is when it gets to the stress test of like Naughty Dog's titles, I'll put it that way. Man, I hope it doesn't okay, let's just book a flight to Western Australia on this thing, because it's just sounded like it can take off at any moment. So I don't know.
When you say cooler for longer, is that like per session or over a period of time, like years that you're talking for?
See, that's the other thing too. Like, your example was great because your OG PlayStation, you dusted it out, but it still makes noise. I think it's going to be one of those cases where it won't be per session, it'll be over time and over a certain period of time where, thermal paste has a certain period. It's about 3 years. Liquid metal cooling, I think, is about maybe 5 to 6. We could already be into PlayStation 6 almost by then. And we could even see hardware revisions by then, and people would have traded their units and some... I don't know, John, I don't know how you've kept an OG PS4, man, but... some people will have noticed, there's a difference in sound with their unit, but they're ready to make the upgrade anyway. So, the liquid cooling is definitely a welcome feature. We'll just see how long it lasts for, especially, like I said, when the real stress test comes around. Let's get back into size of the unit. This one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, Western Digital reveals first PlayStation 5 compatible SSD. There's a 500 gig, 1 terabyte, and a 2 terabyte option. And just like that, the very first PlayStation 5 compatible... The very first PlayStation 5 compatible, I'm guessing it's probably said SSD, has been announced. While there have been murmurings about Samsung drives, Western Digital has marked its SN850 as compatible with Sony's next-gen console on a promotional pamphlet. The Japanese giants yet to officially publish a whitelist of compatible drives, but the hardware manufacturer clearly feels pretty comfortable with this one. It can read data speeds up to 7 gig and write data speeds of 4.1 gigabytes per second, which should be good enough for PlayStation 5. Now, there has been some clarification about these SSDs that are about to hit the market for PlayStation 5, which is, you can install it onto your unit for expansion, but you won't be able to run your games off them. Basically, the gist is that no matter which one you get, whether it's a portable drive, like one of those external pocket drives, or the SSD NVMe here, they still won't run games directly off of these. You can only run the game directly off the internal SSD. And if that and Max from for the players from Pop C over the past weekend brought up a really great point, which is if that fails, you have to send your unit in. Yeah.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Hopefully it doesn't fail. I mean, I've got like I said, got my PS4 base PS4 still. It hasn't crashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's as loud as a jet engine, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. You know, the last thing they want is a Red Ring of Death style hardware issue that means people have to send their consoles in. So I feel like, as I said, PlayStation and Sony being like the hardware experts, they're probably gonna make, you know, allowances for that kind of thing. I think they're gonna be pretty confident in what they've got. And yeah, if it crashes and you have to get it replaced, then are you saying that the SSD is some kind of custom PlayStation Sony component that only they can repair?
No, it would be probably a marketable or compatible SSD NVMe unit, those sticks that they're now selling, that you could replace. But if you don't send it into Sony, you're voiding your warranty basically because you're not getting the official manufacturer tinkering with your unit. So it's basically like one big fat contract that you have, and then afterwards, if you try to repair your own unit, which honestly I still don't understand how that works. Should be able to repair your own unit, should still be covered under warranty, but Sony say that no, if you open it up, it voids that because you could be possibly modifying your unit and all this other stuff. It's like, well, look, if it crashes,
that's normal though.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everyone does that.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one, Jono, is basically what we just spoke about, which is also reported by Stephen Talby over at Push Square. PS5's crazy cooling solution should make for one quiet console. So I'm just going to scroll quickly down past the top paragraph and go to the liquid cooling solution along with its big-ass heatsink that they're displaying as well. So the liquid cooling is obviously placed right on the CPU there, and that heatsink is a mammoth. But you can also see that they're using metal piping to draw out the heat as it kind of just rises out of the heatsink as well. So they definitely have thought about it. I think that, but still with it being a major concern, especially from PlayStation 4, I think that they've got it down pat. So we're definitely going to be seeing some innovation from their previous gen unit to this gen. And I'm confident that we're going to be getting a quiet console, which is very, very good, man. We'll move on to the next one because we've already covered all that. This one comes by way of, once again, Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, Sony launching new PlayStation Store on web and mobile this month. Sony has communicated to developers that it plans to launch a new PlayStation Store on the web and mobile later this month, which will remove the ability for you to purchase content for its legacy consoles such as PlayStation 3, PS Vita, and PSP. PlayStation 4 apps, themes, and avatars will also no longer be available through the web and mobile storefronts once the changes roll out, while content from your existing wishlist will be removed. The alterations presumably preface the introduction of the PlayStation 5 source code discovered on the official PlayStation website hinted that I missed the column there. So source code discovered on the official PlayStation website hinted that wishlist will be integrated into the next gen console. So it's likely that the manufacturer is completely rebuilding this feature. Sony's yet to reveal its new systems interface, but following this week's hardware teardown, we can't imagine it'll be too far out. Okay, so they want to accommodate both PlayStation 4 and 5, but they're going to be removing some features from the PlayStation Store. I mean, yeah, fine, they're minor features. You can't, purchase themes and all these kind of things. They really want to push PlayStation 5, obviously, as their new mainline hardware. But obviously, not everybody's going to have a PlayStation 4 for the foreseeable future. You know, it's going to be one of those rare commodities that, you know, like I mentioned, like a Nintendo Wii was for like quite a few months, and the Switch was for quite a few months, and then the PlayStation 4 was for quite a few months as well. Stripping away features for your App Store does not make sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I'm trying to think of what they're thinking, and it's quite hard because it doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess it's stifling.
I
can't even say it's a cost-saving thing because it's already there, and you know a lot about how websites work because you've rebuilt Dash Gamer 1,000 times. But yeah, like I guess being like a storefront, like it has to have the whole e-commerce, whatever, like infrastructure. Maybe it's just simpler for them to go, you know what, people, maybe they're not using these features on browser that much. Let's get rid of it. Because I mean, if I'm going to download a PS4 theme or something, I'm not doing it on my PC, you know?
Yeah. You've possibly hit it right there. I think it's going to be one of those things where they're commercially just pushing the hardware more than anything now. They don't want people to be like essentially stuck in the past, basically, and saying, okay, I still got a PlayStation 4, it still works, and that reminds them, like that app there reminds them that, okay, we've still got older hardware, Sony are still supporting it, we'll stick with that, we don't need a PS5 for now. No, they really want you to buy a PlayStation 5. That's what we're pushing. So yeah, it is obviously a business move more than anything. It'd be silly to campaign more or less the same old hardware on their apps. So yeah, you kind of hit it really. The next one. Oh no, the next one, comes by way. Hey PAJ, I know you're listening and flipping out right now. Comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says Bugsnax is another PlayStation 5 launch title. Young Horses, the development studio behind Octodad, has announced that the viral sensation Bugsnax will launch alongside the PlayStation 5 on November 12th. The game will also launch on PC and PS4 on the same day. You can find the rest of the PlayStation 5 launch titles here. Okay.
Why is there a picture? Why is there a Greg Miller video on this page?
Yeah, see, that's the problem. And I went on a bit of a tangent on on Operation PlayStation this week, with that being my main issue behind it. Because there is a little bit of conflict of interest behind this game, with Jen being the person, like being Jen Miller is working on this.
With Propaganda, or
what do you mean?
With her PR company?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my issue. Is that basically Jen's working on this, and okay, I'll take Greg up on his word that he didn't know at first. But this was months ago. Now that he knew that he was working on it, he doubled down on only how Greg could. But a lot of people are like, hold on a sec, Greg. This is conflict of interest, man. Like, calm yourself.
I think if he's upfront that she's involved, though, that's fine. Because, you know, as if you're not going to talk about a game that your wife's working on. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the game, though, itself? I saw the game... care less. No, neither could I. It's not a game for me. I didn't get in... I didn't play Animal Crossing. I play Pokemon, and they're the games that come to mind when I look at this. I don't really know what the gameplay even is. I just know that it's not the kind of thing that I'm into.
No, never.
Especially when you look at launch day, and you've got Miles Morales. Yep. You know, you've got presumably Watch Dogs, and you've got Assassin's Creed, and you've got stuff like, you know, your PS4 games that you want to play upgraded on PS5. As well as like Ghost of Tsushima's multiplayer is coming out this week, and there's just going to be, you know, that much to do and that much to play that I don't know, unless something about this really grabs you, it's not going to be something that really I'm going to invest in.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few people kind of. I think it's become the selling point of Bugsnax now has become a meme more than anything. It's not really something that you're going to be invested in. You'll be invested in for when it launches. It's like, hey, I'm playing Bugsnax. Cool. How long for? Oh, just for today, and then I'll move back to Miles Morales. So that's the meme. It's the meme of it, and I think that's what everybody's excited about. Jono, the final news piece of the night comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says, and this is the exciting one we just spoke about, EB Games is moving a number of PlayStation 5 and Xbox pre-orders forward to launch shipment. Finally, some good next-gen news. We've heard from a good amount of readers, and I can personally confirm Matt Hewson from Player 2 just got his confirmation. Paul James from Player 2 got his confirmation. I think Zach from Well Played got his confirmation. So there are confirmations dropping from EB Games that is moving a number of second wave PlayStation 5 and Xbox pre-orders to launch after receiving their final allocation today. All of these readers have been informed by email earlier tonight. The email reads, "We've got some amazing news. You've been advanced in the queue. You ordered the PlayStation 5/Xbox Series X console, originally in our post-launch 2020 shipment, has been moved to launch day shipment. Go ahead and you can squeal in excitement now. Your new order details can be seen in the order history section of your EB World profile." So he says, check your emails. Hopefully you're one of the lucky ones that can now grab the console on launch. Now, I am part of the second wave. I have not received my confirmation. I'm about to open up my email client now just to kind of make sure. But I have not received my confirmation. I am part of that second wave that ordered it around about 6 p.m. that day. But the weird thing was that PAJ ordered after me after I told him to order. I'm not stressed because I've already been guaranteed by Target. I ordered from Target and Target has said, no, yours is coming to launch. But I've also got somebody else who's helping me out with a launch day unit for Xbox. I have got a confirmed launch shipment unit for PlayStation 5 because PlayStation was, like, I gotta say, EB was smart in the way they handled PlayStation's pre-orders. And a lot of people will say, no, they weren't, and this and that. It's like, yeah, but if you're not in the know and you didn't know and you weren't keeping an eye on social media, that's your own damn fault. Fine, I can understand. I can be a little bit compassionate towards the casual market, like mums who are probably trying to get one for their kid at Christmas time. But
there'll be more stock by Christmas, surely.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the thing. Like,
so what's the big deal? Yeah.
This is it. This is confirmation that I think you're going to be fine at Christmas time, Mum. So it's good news for everybody here.
Yeah. And I don't think the mums are the ones railing against EB Games on Twitter and that kind of thing.
No, it'd be the gamers that wanted it on launch day.
People like, sure. I think Paul was one of them.
Yeah. I loved it. That day was great.
Game review.
Okay, Jono, thanks to the kind folk over at EA Australia. I got to sit down and check out Star Wars Squadrons. Did you happen to cop a code from EA at all?
No, I didn't ask for one. But this game wasn't really on my radar at all until everyone was just like playing it and getting hyped for it to come out, everyone in 8-bit. And I was like, oh no, like I've got all these other games to play. But something about this one just, I had to pick it up. It's been really fun.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Look, I am not a Star Wars nerd at all. Like, I haven't watched any of the films, and I keep getting people saying, "You've never watched a Star Wars movie before? What is wrong with you?" I'm like, oh, it's not my thing, man. I've never been big into Star Wars. But when I copped Squadrons, man, I got to tell you what, like, it's really pushed that agenda on me. Like, man, you seriously have to watch these films. The gameplay in this is phenomenal. It really reminds me of, like, if you were playing like an old Galaga game or an old Space Invaders, but they've kind of just amped it up and made it cinematic. It really takes, like when they say, oh, it's out of this world, it really is. It really made me feel like I was flying a spacecraft, especially in VR. VR was sensational. Have you played it in VR?
No, I don't have a VR unit, so I haven't done that. Okay. And I've heard people, like, I know a few people who have VR, but they're preferring to play it outside, I guess, because of the motion sickness that is inevitable.
Yeah. So I will admit there was a little bit of motion sickness. I did feel a little bit seasick at some points when I first started playing. So I got the game pre-launch, and there was no there were certain patches that came out afterwards, but I was playing a pre-patch, and there were a couple of hitches and glitches that happened while I was flying the plane, especially in VR, that I found myself a little seasick. I was trying to, like, the X-wing that I was flying in had a little bit of steering issues, and it was almost like, oh, okay, all right, trying to turn left, and it was a little too sensitive. Trying to turn right, way too sensitive, and I was like, okay, this is getting way beyond anything that I can comprehend or handle right now. So I've got to take this off. So I played in standard, TV mode, and I found it to be quite enjoyable. There was still some bugginess that happened. But after they patched it, I think it was 1.04 last week.
Right.
Everything was pretty much clean. It was a tighter experience, and I had a lot of fun just getting into it and really enjoying the narrative. As someone who's unacquainted but knows the baseline story, some of the more important cliff notes of Star Wars.
Sure.
I could appreciate what was being told within the narrative. As someone, obviously, you've watched Star Wars, as someone who appreciates it a little more than what I would, what are your thoughts on the entire experience and the narrative?
Yeah, so I'm probably 6 missions into the campaign. I don't know how many there are, but I haven't finished it because I've mostly been playing multiplayer for the last few nights. And the story's fine. Like, they've done a seemingly they've placed it within the canon.
It's canonical,
story
yeah.
At a certain point, like, I think it's part of it happens after from memory. I think part of it happens after like episode 4, and then the rest of it happens after episode 6. I think that's what I gathered, and that's interesting. It kind of gives you the context of what's happening in the world, which I think most people who play the game would have that context. And yeah, I guess getting to see, not that your character has any voice or personality.
Yeah,
it's a voiceless protagonist, which is that's a little disappointing. And I guess I'm nitpicking because it's a $50 game over here. It's not. They didn't put an incredible amount of effort into the character customization and that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, as a means to giving the missions a bit of agency and context, I think the story does just a fine job, really. It is mostly about those experiences of the gameplay and flying around and getting to feel like you're one of these characters, like kind of like a side character in the movie. That there's a lot of you get a lot of shots of these different characters in the Rebels throughout the original trilogy, especially of them, in a campaign shooting down, other TIE fighters and stuff, and they're characters that don't really get any backstory or anything. They're just kind of there to tell the story of that fight. Yeah. So to feel like you're controlling one of those characters is kind of cool, and whether it's creating your own stories in your head or playing through that narrative and reacting to the characters that are just put in front of you is kind of cool. Yeah. But yeah, it is all about that kind of vibe, because there's no planetary campaigns. It's all space, which I wish there kind of was, something down on the planet, which I had thought maybe it would be a DLC, but they've announced there's no DLC. So I guess if you want that, you have to go to like Battlefield 2 or something for that type of thing. But yeah, they've done such a great job of, not like you're flying around in a ship, like that's a tick. But then they've added elements to the gameplay that make it a bit more challenging, whether it's, prioritizing your booster to your shields or to your engines or to your blasters, to your lasers, and having to make those kinds of choices and having a bit of variance between the two different sides, as well as each individual ship. There's 4 on each side. Like, everything feels unique, and there's a technique and a strategy if you're playing online to picking each one and looking at who else is on your team and how you fit together. So yeah, for something that's quite a simple game, it is a lot of there's a lot of thought that's gone into that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it kind of takes me back. Like it's the first game I've played like a space shooter like this since Wing Commander. I think 4 on like the PS1, which had like funnily enough had Mark Hamill like as the main character.
Yeah,
and in my head, like when you think back to PS1 games, they're so much more than what they really were. But in my head, like this is what it was like to like be there, and it was like a 3D thing where you take off from your like mothership and then you're out in space and you're trying to shoot down your enemies and return to base. So it's that cool like sense of like I'm in space and I can go anywhere I want and approach this however I want. I can fly upside down. I can do a barrel roll. Like you can just,
it's awesome.
You just have that freedom, and that's what's really cool about it.
It's quite a versatile game. I enjoyed. There was certainly a great detail. There was for somebody who, like I said, I'm unacquainted, but I kind of gave it to my dad who loves his Star Wars, and I told him put on the headset, see what you think, and he was like, "Wow!" He goes, "This is precise. It's exact. If anything, like I think the word that he used was it embellishes what we would perceive as the cockpit of an X-wing, and it really kind of personifies how you would utilize all its controls. Its broad scheme and everything else. And man, like I said, as somebody who really doesn't appreciate the series as much as somebody who would, like a devotee of it, like somebody who's really an enthusiast of the series. Like I've heard nothing but positive things. You did mention about the narrative. I did make a point within my review on the website that the narrative was the weakest point of the game. The gameplay is just phenomenal though. It's a lot of fun to play, and I've noticed that you guys over at 8-Bit have been having nights where you're kind of getting together playing multiplayer as well. So obviously there's a lot of fun aspects actually jumping online and playing with friends as well.
And being completely cross-play has been awesome because I'm on PS4. Benny and Brendan are on PC.
Nice.
My friend Jared from Rain Bites on PS4. So we've been playing together, and because it's EA and it just uses that EA ID, you can just play seamlessly, and that's been really cool. And I mean, it is quite hard to play in some of those online features. Like we've honestly lost the majority of matches we've played.
Okay.
And there's some absolute freaks out there. I tell you what, like
they absolutely love it.
Like I've been playing for a week most nights, and I'm level 14.
Yeah,
we played against someone the other day that was level 131.
Jesus Christ,
who must have just literally been playing since it came out without putting it down. He destroyed us, this guy. His name is Namaste TV, if you want to look him up. He was streaming at the time that he destroyed us. And after the match, I quickly punched it into Twitch and went over and watched his stream. And sure enough, everyone in the chat was making fun of us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, it is available now. Make sure you guys go pick up your copy of Star Wars Squadrons. Thanks to EA Australia, who kindly provided dashgamer.com the review code on that one.
Global gaming releases.
Okay, Jono, it's time for the dashgamer.com global gaming releases for the next fortnight. We've got a doozy of a list, actually. So, starting from October 14th to the 29th, I've added an extra day because there is a major one there. So, Partisans 1941, that is on PC, October 14th. Cook Serve Delicious 3, early access is available October 14th, which is today, which Betson has gone insane over for some reason. That's on PC, Xbox One, and on Switch.
Okay.
Will also be available on PlayStation 4. Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition available on PC, October 15th. Craftlands Workshop Steam Early Access PC, October 15th. Cake Bash, that'll probably be another one that we'll look at. PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia out on October 15th. Nine Monkeys of Shaolin, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, October 16th. Amnesia Rebirth on PC and PS4, October 20. Scourgebringer PC, Xbox One and Switch, October 21. Disc Room PC and Switch, October 22nd. The Red Lantern PC, Switch, October 22nd. Transformers Battleground, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, October 23rd. This one I'm excited for. Ghost Runner on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, October 27th. Have you seen footage for that one, Jono?
No. I think I might have actually seen something yesterday on Twitter, but I didn't pay attention to it.
It's like a Mirror's Edge and like a Ninja Warrior game.
Okay.
It's awesome, dude. Yeah.
Cool.
Trials of Cold Steel 4 on PlayStation 4, October 27th. Hammerding on PC, Steam Early Access, October 27th. Agos, I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. Agos, a game of space, well, but that's basically what it means. On Rift 5 and Index, October 28th. And the big one, Watch Dogs Legion on PC, PS4, Xbox One, Stadia, PS5, Xbox Series X later down the line, October 29th. And it'll be out launch day for the Series X and on PS4, I believe, too. PS5, sorry. There you go. That is the global gaming releases for the next fortnight. Big list, a lot of games, but honestly, out of the entire list there, I'd probably see Watch Dogs as being the big one, and that's what everyone's waiting for as well, yeah. And then obviously post after that will be Cyberpunk. But I'll tell you what, everybody's rubbing their hands. They're just waiting for November, and that's what I'm waiting for. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of just finding something to keep you busy until then, which is
pretty much
one of the reasons I picked up Squadrons. You know, Tony Hawk's been fun, and other games have been fun, but yeah,
I think Watch Dogs will kill in a couple of weeks for everybody just to kind of get over the edge. If they want to pick it up, or if they want to pick it up on launch. But I reckon like pick it up before launch, save yourself a little bit of dough, and then get the digital upgrade. Sweet,
absolutely,
yeah. Guys. If you didn't know, this has been the Dash Gamer podcast, the bi-weekly gaming podcast where the boys get together and talk about the latest in the world of video gaming. Jono, for the kind people at home, where can they find you and what have you got going?
You can find me on socials at Jono himself. You can follow the Putting In Work podcast at Putting In Work Pod. As part of the 8-Bit Collective. What have I got going? I mentioned a couple of the potties before, but I should shout out Trigger Witch, which is the video game that I'm writing with the guys over at Rainbite, the indie developers over in New Zealand. Great dudes who've brought me on to kind of do the dialogue and narrative and a bit of sound design actually for this twin-stick shooter that's coming out at some point. Probably in the next, I think you could safely say in the next 6 months.
Never guaranteed,
they were hoping, yeah, I mean, with an indie studio, it's so hard. And it's the kind of thing where we don't have to put a date in the calendar like Cyberpunk that's going to get delayed, you know? It's the kind of thing where they'll say it a month before it comes out. So that's been so much fun and something that I'm looking forward to talking about a lot more once it's, you know, out there and in the wild. But seeing that come together has been really fun. So if you want to keep up with that, you can follow Rainbite on Twitter at RainBite. And yeah, that's definitely the biggest project that I'm working on.
Well, good on you, man. I'm really looking forward to actually checking that one out when it does release. I'll be sure to probably review it as well. Follow myself on Twitter at @DashGamer. Don't worry, John. I'll be kind. Follow myself on Twitter at @DashGamer. Don't forget to follow the show over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us a cheeky 5-star ratings. Surely help us out. Also, catch the VOD on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, leave us a like, leave us a comment, give us some feedback. Surely helps us out. We'll be back in another couple of weeks. I'll have Betson back on, and then he'll disappear for another 6 weeks until our end of year show, which is in the plans. Right now, I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I'm going to try and get maybe an end of year extravaganza going or something like that. But until next week, till I see you guys with PAJ on Operation PlayStation. I've forgotten how to end this. Oh, that's right. Stay safe, take care of each other, and wash your hands because we're in a pandemic still.
And wear a mask.
Yeah, and wear a mask, please. Yes, for the love of God. And I'm hoping, God, someday, please, someday.
dashgamer.com